The idea is, hey, you're sitting back in your shack, relaxing, you got an air conditioning, maybe sipping an 807. Anybody know what an 807 is? What's an 807? Yeah, usually it's, well, 807 actually is a tube. But back in the day, because an 807 tube kind of had a shape of almost like a beer stein, they call it an 807. So an 807 is alcohol or probably a beer. So anyway, this is kind of an ice block, kind of a neat thing to get. There's one for the mountain goats, same thing, and it has a little goat in there. So and they kind of say it's addicting because once you get there, you start keeping track of your points. You see you're kind of going, hey man, I'm working a lot of people. So if you want to go that route, you can. Okay. This guy here, NA6MG, that's Dan, North America 6 mountain goat. He's done over 1,000 activations, and is probably in California, one of the main guys. The guy down here, Steve W6, he actually used to take goats with him to the mountaintop and carry his gear. I've actually met both these guys. What you do is you log your contacts on the SOTA web page. So, you just register, and then anytime you work somebody, you just kind of put it there and you can start accumulating. You don't have to, so if you're an activator, you're probably doing it, but whoever you work, the chaser, they don't have to do that. I mean, if they want to go ahead and be that involved, they can do that. Everything's on the honor system. Nobody's going to check on anything like that to see what you did, and you can also, like say you operate SOTA for a while and you keep a log and you think, maybe I will start keeping track of my points. You can always go back. There's no time limit. You can go back 4 or 5 years and put the contacts in there, and you can also figure out by going on a database what you made. For me, I've been doing it since about 2014. I've done about 170 activations, means I've gone to 170 peaks. Some of them I've gone to more than once, 21 states, plus Alaska and also Ireland. We have any former Marines here? Okay, this is Brad. He actually got licensed around 2016. He was active duty Marines. He was stationed down at Pendleton. Got really into it. He got sent overseas to Okinawa, and he got the Japanese call there. So he started activating in Okinawa. I think he went to Korea and mainland Japan. Well, one time they had to go to Iwo Jima. It was kind of an official thing, so he had to go in uniform, and he. At Iwo Jima, which is the airfield down there, he hiked up. This is Mount Suribachi. Okay, this is where the flag was put up 75 years ago. It was kind of around, when you think about it, I think he worked like about 4 Japanese stations from up there, and a New Zealander and Australia. But you think about it, here's a United States Marine up on Mount Suribachi talking to a Japanese station when 75 years ago we all know what was happening up there. So, and Brad is still active now. He's back here in the States. Okay, here's just some of the statistics about SOTA. The one main thing, you can't just go to any peak. You can't just, I know where's a hill, I'm gonna go and operate. It has to be what they call a registered peak, but as you can see here, there's almost 4,300 in California, so it's not that hard. I mean, they're almost in every state. There's not one in Florida. We got one in Mississippi, and it is worldwide because SOTA started in 2004 in the UK, so it's very big in Europe. And then in 2007 is when it kind of became popular in the United States. So that's why when I mentioned daily, you can go up there. If you went home right now and get on the SOTA webpage, which I'll mention to you, you're going to find spots from stations in Australia, New Zealand, maybe Japan. And a spot means, hey, there's a station on this frequency, like right now. And the one thing I want to mention is when you're an activator, you're up on the peak. You're like a net control. You're running things. you're driving things, you know. If you need to take a break, you take a break. So that's what's kind of fun about it. The other thing I also wanted to mention, there is some relevance to, let's say, immersive communications, because you're going up to a place, you're setting up outdoors, you're using, you got to improvise, kind of like what had improvised here. So there is some relevance in that. So this particular one here, this is when I was in Kentucky and about ready to hike up there. The other thing is that, a lot of the activators, I mean, they're in their 60s or older. I mean, yeah, sure, you got some, well, you do, you have young people that they might go to some pretty, little difficult peaks to get up to. I mean, but you're not really going to hear anybody, with ropes and gear that are doing it. And some do multiple activations. They may do more than one in a day. And as I'll talk about later, you may not have to hike up, because there are activations that you could just drive up. So let's say my hiking days are over, but you can still drive up, and the only caveat there is you cannot operate from your vehicle. You got to set up outside it. The other thing I talk about, people are maybe, why you want to get into it. Again, you say, hey, my hiking days are over. I'm not going to go up and do any hiking. But maybe when you were a kid, maybe you used to do a lot of hiking. Maybe you're familiar with certain peaks up here in the San Gabriel. Now you can work people up on those same peaks, and so it might be another reason to get interested. The average activation is about an hour and a half. No time limit. You just get up there as long as you want. There have been a couple peaks where I've been up there for 3 hours because it's just so beautiful. You're up there, you got blue sky, you're working all kinds of stations. A lot of times, even now you hear people, well, the bands are dead, the bands are dead. I say, well, I just worked Japan running 10 watts from a mountaintop. So again, the bands still operate, they still work. I made about 5 SOTA contacts from my house the other day. What I do, I kind of get up, I get on the web page, these guys are there, or women, and then I try to work them. And after a while, you keep working the same people over and over again. You kind of really get to know them. And usually what I'll do is I'll stay about maybe about 15 minutes per band. So let's say I start out on 30 meter CW, I'll stay there for about 15 minutes. And what's kind of neat is sometimes when you first get on, you got to pile up. I mean, you got to bunt, because there are chasers, they're looking for you. I mean, they want to work you, and Steve can attest to this, because we used to do some backpacking, back way before SOTA in the 90s, and we'd bring QRP radios. We'd set up in the Sierras, and we're calling CQ. Nobody's answering it because they can hardly hear you. But SOTA, it's the other way around. They're looking for you, and the chasers are going to come and they're going to find you. The other thing is that I do both Morse code, CW, or sideband, and probably over half, maybe 60%, is on Morse code. Now you might be thinking, I ain't going to do Morse code, but it's amazing once people get into SOTA and they start with sideband, and then they start seeing the activity, because this is kind of like weak signal stuff, and then they start learning their Morse code, and they'll slow down for you too. You send CQ SOTA really slow, they're going to come back to you. So, and I'd say I probably know about 7 or 8 people that got heavily involved in SOTA. They never had to learn code, but they've learned code, and so now they're really operating. This here is Mount Baden-Powell. Anybody know who Baden-Powell is? All right, I bet you know. Who is it? That's right. So this is my great nephew, Liam. He lives in Chicago, but for his graduation present from grammar school, mother sent him out to California. He had taken the test and passed his tech test about a week before this. So I says, and he's in the Boy Scouts, was working on his Eagle Scout at the time, and actually he got his Eagle Scout. So I got to take him to Mount Baden-Powell. So we went up there, and that's him operating. That call sign up there, N9MCL, that is his great-grandfather's call, which was my father's call. When I operate, most of my operation is HF, okay? but I'll talk about later, you can do it on 2 meters. And I do operate some 2 meters, but I concentrate on the high frequencies. And I try to work, I know there's chasers out there that are 100 miles away, there might be some 1,000 miles away. So I try to work, you know, all the different bands. So maybe I'll start on 30 meters, get about 200 or 300 miles out, then I'll go to 20 meters sideband of CW. I might be working coast to coast on that one. 40 meters a little closer in, and even 60 meters, 5 megahertz. You know, some of the conditions, I mean, I could be 30 miles north of Los Angeles up in the San Gabriels. I can't, unless I'm doing line of sight, what they call ground wave, I can't get any LA stations unless I go to something like 60 meters. So I try to, because I know there's chasers out there, and I try to, you know, work everyone. This particular, the reason I got a bicycle here, this was one of my activations in Ireland on the west coast, kind of a town called Dingle, and I could actually see the peak from my hotel room, and that's it up there. It's called Carhu Hill, and that's East Tower. It was like a tower built in 1847. Well, I could see it from the hotel. I said, I gotta activate. I kind of planned it out ahead of time. But how was I going to get there? Because I didn't have a car, nothing like that. And it's across the bay. So I walk into the town of Dingle, rent a bicycle, and rode it for about 2 or 3 miles on a asphalt road, cross a little bridge, and then I had to turn off into almost like a little lane, something you see out of the movies. And you're going by sheep farms and everything until finally I get to like a little it's private property, but they have a little kiosk there, and there happened to be the owner there. You give her €4, and you can go ahead and hike up to her hill. So,
the sheep go for you too?
Well, we'll talk about that. Okay? Now, when you're on a SOTA contact, what you got to do is you got to exchange a signal report, or RST, and also advise what hill you're on. Each mountaintop or hill has a reference number, and you could give it once or twice. You don't have to say that all the time, because the chasers can look on the internet and see where you're at. So that's basically exchange. But if you want to talk to somebody, you can. I mean, you're in net control. I mean, if I'm up there and I talk to somebody I know and I say, oh yeah, it's pretty cold up here, or this is what I'm doing. I mean, there's, again, you can pretty much do whatever you want up there. Now, there is wildlife up there, everywhere. And that's, I've seen bobcat, I've seen deer. When I was in Michigan, I saw moose. A friend of mine, Mike, N6MKW, was activating up in San Gabriels, and he was coming around, walking down. He went on a turn. There's a bighorn sheep on the trail about 100 feet away from him. Last month, Paula, K9 IR, who I'd contacted numerous times. She's a lawyer out of Chicago, but she's got a place in Wisconsin. She goes and activates SOTAs by herself. She's married, husband's not a ham operator, but she's really into hiking and stuff. So she was up, she had activated for the first time a hilltop in Wisconsin. While she was up there, she saw 10 to 12 wolves that came by about 30 feet from her, or about 50 feet from her. So it's all, man, because I kind of like the wildlife. I would have liked to go on and seen that. Now this guy here, on my way back down from up in, when I was up at Carhu Hill, coming down, and he's kind of standing in the path there. So I went ahead and, he's eyeballing me, I'm eyeballing him, got a nice photograph, and he stomped his foot and kind of snorted. And I said, I think you're the king sheep of the path here. And I made my way up and around. Well, one of the other, I forgot to mention, the other wildlife that you've probably seen hundreds of them when I'm in the Midwest in Wisconsin and Michigan are ticks. I've sat up there and brushed a lot of ticks off me that when you're kind of sitting there in the out of the way place. Okay, I mentioned drive-ups, okay? And this is where, again, maybe you're not into hiking, but you want to go and operate, you can drive up. This here is the highest point in Michigan. It's about an 11-mile drive on a dirt road, and you kind of park and you just walk up. It's nice on a lot of drive-ups. Sometimes you got a picnic table there. This was, right on the shore of Lake Superior. Notice this battery here. I'm going to show you that. This is one of the old-fashioned gel cells that I don't use anymore. It's pretty heavy. So again, there's a lot of drive-ups. You could take. I haven't done a mountain bike yet, but I know one guy here that's done a couple motorcycles, dirt bikes. Actually, this one you could go up in an ATV if you wanted to. I've done them in the wintertime where I've had crampons because I'm maybe in 3 or 4 inches of snow and not to slip. Some people, I haven't gone it where I needed snowshoes. But there are some people that really want the adventure, so they'll go ahead and do that. Okay, I talked about summit to summit. That's when you're on a peak, you talk to somebody else on a peak. And I had a couple good ones. I was in the Los Padres National Forest west of Fraser Park, about 7,200 feet, 7,400 feet. And I worked Michael, KX6A, who was up by Lone Pine. He was at about 12,900 feet. So I'm using this radio here, 5 watts, 123 miles away on 2-meter simplex. And we did that twice, 2 different, actually 1 year and then a different year. My longest summit to summit was actually in May. I went to Dayton this year, then I went out and did some SOTA tours. I was in North Georgia, and I worked a guy in Washington State, and that was 2,098 miles. I was running, I think, about 10 watts on 30 meters. That's 10 megahertz, and he was running 2. So it's kind of fun to get the summit to summit. Okay, there's a lot of different there's rules like in kind of a little booklet, but this is simple. This is kind of puts it down. If you want to operate SOTA, this is what you have to do. It has to be a registered summit, and again, I'll show you what that means. It's going to have like a little code number. You need 4 QSOs. In other words, you need 4 contacts. That's it. If you only make 1 contact, you've activated the summit, but you don't get points if you're collecting points. You have to exchange your signal report or RST, readability, strength, tone. If you do a drive up, you can't operate from your vehicle. You can't be connected to the vehicle. You can't use the antenna on the vehicle or the battery or anything like that. No fuel or generators. And you can use 2-meter or UHF simplex. So you could go up to a peak in the San Gabriels with this, okay? Make 4 contacts on FM simplex, you have activated a peak. Okay, and there are some guys that have done that. Michael, the guy I mentioned, KX6A, was really wanting to, get his mountain goat. So he was doing 3 or 4 activations a day. He would hike up because he's kind of a really big-time hiker. Lightweight stuff. He'll hike up. He'd make 4 or 5 contacts on 2-meter simplex. He's only up there for 20 minutes. He's down. Goes to the next peak. Again, we talked about you don't want to trespass on private property, and that's where, I've been like a quarter mile from the summit, but I'm still on the ridge line. I'm still within 80 feet of, this activation zone thing, so that's okay there. And then, you log your contacts on a SOTA database. And the last thing here about 1 summit per year. You can, again, you can go up to the same summit 5 or 6 times a year, but you only get points or credit for 1. But again, so if you want to go more, you can. In Southern Cal here, there's probably about 30 regular activators that go up quite a bit. In California, there's about 130. If you go on the website, you'll see like 250 people, but some people have only activated once or twice. But in the state, there's probably about 130 regulars that do it. There's probably, again, chasers in California, probably about 125. And some of them, there's a couple guys that, that's all they do. There's one guy, Tommy, W7 Romeo Victor in Phoenix. I've done 170 peaks. He has worked me 158 times. He's always there. And he works everybody. And you kind of get to know him. There's a husband and wife team, Gary and Martha out of Kansas. They both activate and chase, so I work them a lot. Phil up in Portland, NS7P. He's always on. So after a while, you kind of start getting to work a lot of people. This is from Pacific Con 2 years ago. A bunch of SOTA activators that I'd been talking to. Finally got to meet them. Over here, this is Wayne N6KR, one of the founders of Elecraft, the designer of the KX3 and the KX2. So he kind of shows up. I went to Pacificon just 2 weeks ago. Again, met a bunch of other people, and Wayne was there again talking about some of the latest Elecraft stuff. I've probably personally met about 50 activators. I've been on Dayton. We've had a little get-togethers there. Sometimes, some of the other. If SOTA giving a presentation, one of the conventions, people are around there. So you kind of get to meet and get to know a lot of the people. Okay, here's some information about some of the California summits, and this is where I talked about points. A summit's worth anywhere from 1 to 10 points, depending on its elevation, but they kind of adjust it. So it's like, in Illinois, they have 9 summits, but they're only worth 1 point. However, in Michigan, and you can see that in Illinois, the highest summit is 1,000 feet. Illinois, every one of them is 1 point. In Michigan, the highest summit, which is Mount Arvon, which I showed earlier, that's 1,976 feet. So they kind of adjust it and give it 8 points. So again, that's how you collect points if you want to start going for the awards and stuff. Again, here's some of the popular ones here. Oat Mountain's kind of interesting. That's in the valley, a bunch of repeater sites up there. I think it's only been activated twice because it's kind of like private property. You got to kind of know somebody even to get halfway up there. East Point Benchmark, that's on Catalina Island. Now here are some drive-up summits, and this is, I mentioned about the SOTA reference number. So each SOTA has a number. The W6 means it's in here, California. CT, that just stands for transverse ranges. I guess that's, maybe that, a geological term. So this particular one, they call it point 420 because it doesn't really have a name. It's 4,020 feet. This is a really good summit to get started on. It's above Silmar, and you go up Little Tahunga Road, you go through Fire Station 9, and you drive up to kind of a dead end, and it's an old Nike site, and you walk up about 20 feet to like a plateau, and they got the old-fashioned metal grates there, and so this is really a good starter peak. Here at Table Mountain, that's, if you ever heard of Mountain High ski area, that's Mountain High North. And again, that's a drive. You got to do a little bit of walking there, but you essentially drive up and then you walk up a asphalt road. They just don't allow cars up there. San Pedro Hill, that's down by Palos Verdes. Okay, of course, Fraser Peak, that's a very popular one for VHF contests. And this one here, also known as Mount Abel. Again, here this is, the CC stands for Central Coast, because that's the range is considered in. Even though it's very close to Mount Abel, this is Southern Coast. The other thing I want to mention, if you're just going to operate, say you're a technician, you want to do SOTA, and you're just going to do VHF, a great time to activate is during a VHF contest weekend. You're going to have a bunch of people operating everywhere. So you go up to a mountaintop, take your 2-meter rig if you got 2-meter sideband or 6-meter, so you can really work a lot of people. So that's kind of a neat time to, if you want to work people. Here's a couple other drive-up summits. Grass Mountain. I was just there 2 weeks ago. I did a double. I did a hike up to Jupiter Mountain. It was probably about an hour-and-a-half hike, and right across was Grass Mountain. It was about a 3-mile ride. I had 4-wheel drive, because there were a couple places. Nice real plateau up there with beautiful oak trees. So I was doing pretty well. It was kind of later, about 4 o'clock. Made about 25 contacts. I thought, well, let me go to 17 meters. I hadn't been there in a while. So I listen on 17 meters, sounds absolutely dead. So I start calling CQ SOTA. The only two stations I worked or even heard were two Japanese stations. So they were chasers, they were looking, you know, they saw my spots, they knew I was there, and they found me. So that's kind of a thrill. I'm running 10 watts, a little wider, that's probably, you know, not higher than there, and I'm working Japan. Elephant Mountain, that's, if you've ever ridden by Barstow, you've probably seen it. It's right there along the road, big flat plateau. Now that one you definitely need four-wheel drive to get to. Nagel Hill is a neat one. It's right outside a condo complex. You park there and you just walk down a path, a bunch of picnic tables there, and you're right out over the ocean. And then I've actually done Nagel Hill and Mount Helix, again, a drive up in one day. Okay, now here's where it kind of comes to the crux of how does people know where to find you. This is the main website, sotawatch.org, and there's two things that you're going to find there. One is the alert, and you what they call, you post an alert. It's like a heads up. Hey, I'm going to be at this peak tomorrow. My estimated time of arrival might be 1800. You use Zulu time. So 1800 would be like maybe, what's that, 10 a.m. And here are the bands I'm going to operate. Now you don't have to do an alert, but it's what kind of gives a heads up. You could do the alert a week before you go up there. You can do the alert the night before you go up there. So that means that's just a heads up. Now, and I can tell you on every alert I've had, when I put an estimated time of arrival, I never make it. I'm always late. The spot is when you actually have a real time, your current time and frequency, you're here right now. And that's what gets people looking for you. Now, here's an example of an alert page, and I'll just show you. Here is $1,700 Zulu NA6MG. I told you about him. He's going to be at this summit. It's hard to tell, but that's APRS. And these are the bands he's going to work, 10, 14, 24, etc. Plus he also listed he's going to be on 5.2 simplex. So that's the upcoming activations known as the alert. Okay, now he's up there. This is the spot. Okay, so as of, hard to tell, 1903, he was on this frequency, 10.110 CW, 30 meters, on right now. But then, of course, that was 1903. 1923, he gone to 20 meters. So say you're at home, you want to see what's the activity, you go to this page, sotawatch.org, you click on spots, and if this is close, then you can see if you can hear that station. And normally, like I say, most stations will be on there 15, 20 minutes after their posted time. Sometimes somebody else might post them. So, and the other thing real quick, like all these different drop-down menus, if you want to search, see if a particular, you have a name of a peak, is it a SOTA peak, you can click on all that stuff. Okay, here's how you get spotted. Okay, there's a system called the RBN, the Reverse Beacon Network. If you're on CW calling CQ SOTA, there's sweepers, I'm not sure how it works, sweepers out there, stations that are listening, they hear CQ SOTA and your call sign, they will spot it. And I'm trying to think if any of them show RBN here, they don't. But the key is to use the Reverse Beacon Network, only works for Morse code, so you have to have put an alert up. Okay, you have to have had an alert, and then again, somehow you have to call CQ SOTA, send a long call, your call sign, the sweeper picks it up, automatically posts it. I've had it where I've done a 2-minute CQ SOTA, and then within a minute I'm spotted. But it's again only CW.
So that's automated?
Yeah, some kind of automated thing.
Okay.
Another way is, let's say you have a smartphone, you have 4G access, you can access the internet, you spot yourself. Okay, a new spot. You know, you go to this page, new spot, and you just spot yourself. Okay, the other way, let's say you work a chaser. If you work any chaser and they see you're not spotted, they're normally going to spot you anyway. Okay, or let's say you spotted yourself at 19:15 hours, but now it's 19:40, so it's like almost 25 minutes later, and the chaser see, oh, well, I'll respot you again to let people know you're still there. You could do it by APRS messages, and that's what I do, and I'll talk a little bit more about APRS. You can also do it with just a regular cell phone, the SMS short messaging service. Through a VHF contact, you contact somebody on VHF, simplex, they can spot you, and as Brian mentioned, you could do it on a repeater. you can contact somebody on a repeater and ask them to spot you. Now the reason I put the Papa repeater here, if you've heard of Papa, it's a wide range UHF system. It is a private repeater, so if you want to be a member, you pay dues. You got Darn, same thing, the wind system. But what Cecil, the owner, WD6F today, we were talking, and he kind of like encourages operation. He says, if you got any SOTA people, whether they're a chaser or an activator, and they're doing a SOTA activation, have at it, come and use the Papa repeater. You don't have to join, you don't have to pay dues. And the other thing we wanted to do is that we get, 20, let's say we have 10 chaser or say 5 activators, we're all up in the San Gabriels. How do we talk to each other? I mean, everybody's on different repeaters. So Papa kind of encourages it. And many times I've been up there and I get on the Papa repeater. This is WA9STI. Summit's on the air. I'm listening to 146.58 simplex. So again, you can use any repeater if somebody knows how to do a spot, but Papa is trying to encourage some operations. Now another part on this SOTA Watch page is each summit has their own what they call information page, and you can find stuff up here like the latitude and longitude. I load that in my GPS, grid square stuff. But the important part is under here, resources. And all this stuff here, our individual activators have gone and they've activated, and they've either put a link or an article talking about their activation. Where do you park? Here's the latitude longitude for the trailhead. Here's a shortcut to Mount Islip. Who's this guy? Four-legged greeting. So apparently he's talking, he must have seen something up there. So again, this is it. If you find a peak you're thinking about activating, look at the resource page. You might find some good information. Some guys even post, people have posted videos with a link. So this is a good thing. And the other thing I want to mention, if you're going to a peak that's kind of popular or that maybe the normal hiker might go, just Google it, Mount Islip, and you might get peakbaggers.com. And they say, hey, here's how we've hiked up, this is how we went up there. So a lot of different resources up there. Okay, this here is taken about a year ago. This is Gary, K6 YOA. He lives in San Diego. He's a chap from the UK. He was doing, he came up to San Gabriel's to do Mount Islip. He stayed overnight because he wanted to get a bunch of activations going. So he camped overnight, and this was his 4th activation of the day. It was about 4 o'clock. So he's going up to Mount Islip. I'm coming down. We meet halfway. We kind of knew each other were there because we saw each other's spots and stuff. So we met halfway, kind of took a picture, and I went back down to the car at the trailhead, and I worked him when he got up to the top. I was sitting down below. It was 39 degrees. I remember I said, how windy is it up there? He said, yeah, it's windy. So he made 5 or 6 contacts, and then he came back down. So that was kind of a fun one. And different things. I got my GPS there. And in that particular case, I had the camera with me. This is the FT817. It was the original rig I was using, a very popular radio. They come out in another one now, the FT818, I think it is. What's nice about the FT817, it has UHF, VHF, 6 meters, 2 meters, and sideband. So it has everything. So if you wanted to work, besides working sideband or code, you can go ahead and that. And oops, this is one of these Elecraft little tuners and one of my radios. This one here, it's hard to see. This is a Yaesu FT897. They don't make them anymore. I wanted to get this radio because what's nice about it, it's totally self-contained. There's 2 batteries in the back. Okay, you got the antenna. You could pick this up like a lunchbox. All you need to do is hook up an antenna. I wanted this radio just for emergency communications. I found one at Dayton. I think it was 2014. Got a great price for it. And after I left Dayton, Ohio, 2 days later, it's hard to tell, but this is a drive up Mount Roosevelt in Tennessee. I'm sitting at a picnic table, drove up there. Beautiful view. It's kind of late in the day and a nice view from Tennessee. And here's the little CW key I use. Okay, this is the Elecraft KX3, very popular radio. I added an extra heat sink at the top. So that a lot of people that get into it use this. Now you don't have to use these QRP radios. A very popular. How many people have an FT857? Yaesu FT857. I can share only one. That's a very popular Yaesu radio. You know, it can run up to 100 watts. It's a little heavy, but you can knock the power down. And people that, you know, they don't want, you know, so I'm going to go out and buy a separate radio just to do this. But so whatever radio you can carry up there, whether it's in a pack or you want to drive it up there. Here's the KX2, a little smaller version. Has a key. What's nice about this radio is that you could just, I carry it on my carry-on luggage, okay? This is the radio I took to Ireland. We have a cottage in Wisconsin. Every time I fly back there, I take this radio with me. Has built-in batteries where you can't tell, but there's a power cord for an external battery for this one. Okay, talk about antennas. This is a buddy pole. A lot of people have had buddy poles. Initially, I would use buddy poles. I use a buddy pole. You know, it's a little bulky. Anybody here do Baker to Vegas? Okay, this peak that I'm on is called Lucille Peak. This is actually the second peak I ever did. It was March of 2014. It was right after Baker to Vegas. This is, I don't know the name of the road, but this is Tacoma Hot Springs area here, and this is the road that takes you out towards south of Pahrump. So I had seen this peak. I kind of did some reviews on, you know, saw where that just comes right off the road. Interesting hike. No one had ever done this one before. And because of some map reading and stuff, I was able, I couldn't just go straight up. It was almost vertical. I had to kind of go around, follow the contour lines, and get up to the top. And once I was up there, I realized that you know, people had gone hiked up there, but it wasn't a regular one. My antenna of choice, hard to tell, is an end-fed dipole. The wire's going up here to a tree off the picture. The other end, here's the little balun. The coax goes right to the radio. I'm sitting right here. I got a hiking pole that it goes to and a little extra support there. I found I've used verticals, buddy poles, but to me my antenna of choice is an end-fed dipole. All you got to do is throw one end up and the other end could, again, tie it off to a shorter tree or hiking pole. This particular picture here, this is Isle Royale National Park, Mount Ojibwa. You can't really make it out, but that blue out there, that's Lake Superior. Behind that is the Canada landmass. And this was one of my longer hikes. My limit's about 3 miles one way. I mean, you know, I got arthritis in knees and all that. This particular hike was over 9 miles. But I even saved 4 miles. I took a water taxi to drop, you know, take me down the island and drop me off. And this was the one actually on my way up there. I was able to see some moose down below. Okay, kind of go over a couple things. Anybody ever heard of the Wilderness Protocol? Okay, this is not my invention. It's kind of been around a while. ARRL kind of sponsored it. The whole idea here with the Wilderness Protocol, let's say you're out in the backcountry, okay? Your cell phone ain't working, you don't have any repeater access, you need assistance, something happens, I guess you can go on 5.2 simplex. Well, maybe, you know, you're in distress, so, you know, you're stuck, you figure, well, people might be looking for you, so you got your handheld, you're calling one help. I mean, how long is your battery going to last? The whole idea with, whoops, how long is the battery going to last? So the Wilderness Protocol, what it basically is that every 3 hours, at the top of the hour, down 5 minutes after, that's when you put your radio on and you call for help. The whole idea is to conserve your battery. So let's say, you know, somebody might be out there looking for you, and instead of, you know, burning out your battery, you're just on for this little short window. And the other thing is that, and Steve and I have done this, we've, you know, back when we were doing backpacking in high Sierras, we'd get on the Wilderness Protocol and just put a call out, and here we have a hiker somewhere in the high Sierras. He's also on 5.2. We didn't know each other was there. So again, that's what it is. You could Google Wilderness Protocol and find out about it. Okay, APRS. I'm not going to go real long into that, but basically you're sending out a beacon on a 2 meter frequency. It gives your latitude, longitude, etc., etc. I use it when I'm driving to a summit because I've put an alert out. Here's my estimated time of arrival. I put a notation. I'm on APRS, so some chasers trying to find me, they can track me, but where's his car at? Oh, his car is at the trailhead. Once I start hiking with my handheld, you know, I'm putting out a beacon here, and you can also use it to send a message through SOTA through a digipeater that can put you on an eye gate. That's how you can spot yourself, and you could also be tracked, APRS.FI. So if Carla wants to find out, am I coming home, she could go and look on APRS.FI and see where was I last seen on the APRS. Another thing about safety with hiking, this is a hiking plan. It's kind of cut off, but again, my friend Mike, the guy that saw the sheep, he's retired LA not the sheep, yeah, the bighorn sheep. This is basically a fill in the blanks. It's kind of a, you know, and what I've done, you know, I kind of put it in there. I might leave it at home. So if I don't show up, it has my description where I'm at. I got information here. I'm a ham radio operator. I do the Wilderness Protocol. I'm an APRS, blah, blah, blah. So if I don't show up, she could fax that to whoever, a sheriff's department up in Kern County, sheriff's, you know, a search and rescue. So again, it's just common sense. You're going somewhere. You want to let people know where you're at. Okay.
Is that a standard form, Scott, or?
You know, I mean, this is what I have. I mean, if somebody's really interested, they can contact me. I'll send you a copy. Another guy has made his own copy. But yeah, this is put out by LA County Sheriff's Department. And it's not for ham radio specifically. It's for anybody who's hiking and say, hey, and then you mark off.
You do that every time?
No, that's a good point.
Like Oak Mountain, you grow something.
Correct. You know, if it's an easy trail or something like that, I'll just leave a note. This is where I'm going. But if it's a little complicated or something, you know, I'll do it. And then I save the old ones. I may do it again. You know, here I got a map and stuff. This one wasn't too hard anyway. But yeah, if it's a complicated one, if there's no trail, I'll have it out there. Okay, kind of coming up to the end here. This is actually when I was in Alaska, and this was a drive up, and it was near what they call a VOR, which is like a airport radar thing. But it was kind of fun doing it in Alaska, and up here, this is above Homer. There's a bay here, but these are glaciers, so it's kind of neat to be, you know, operating, and then you're looking in the distance with glaciers. So again, you know, you want to bring some safety gear. I'll show you a little bit of that, but you know, most of the time I go by myself, and most of the activators go by themselves. Okay, but if you got APRS, you got a hiking plan, you know about the Wilderness Protocol. You know, you bring a map, compass. I bring stuff where I can spend the night if I have to, because if something happens and you know somebody's got to come and rescue you, they're not going to come in the night. They're going to come the next morning. So, you know, your chances for getting you know, found are increased. So, here's some resources. Again, this is the you know, SOTAwatch.org. This is the main site. Talks about SOTA. You could you know, again, it's the United Kingdom. That's where it came from. This guy here, he's actually a police officer down in Orange County. Jerry's got some great videos, professionally done. He's hiking, he got the music playing and stuff. So if you Google Jerry, KG6 Hotel, Quebec Delta, really good videos. He talks about the Wilderness Protocol. There's kind of a separate SOTAwatch reflector, you know, that people put on stuff from all over the world. There's a local one for North America, local one for California. This here is a radio club I belong to in Wisconsin. It's the Vilas County Amateur Radio Club, vcarc.net. If you find that one, you go way off to the right, you click on more, drop down menu. It has an audio file. I did about a 25-minute presentation on a repeater for one of the Papa-Nets, and so there's a recording of it, me kind of talking like here, but of course it's just a recording. So what I'm going to do is show some equipment. I don't know if you, how much time we got here. I was just going to have some equipment on display. Do you need to take a break or anything while I set up, or ready to roll? Any questions?
Oh, I have a question. Two questions. First of all, do you have a checklist of your stuff that you check so you don't go up there and go, oops, the BNC checklist not here, I can't operate?
Yep, I do have a checklist, but a lot of it's in my head right now. But yeah, when I first started, I did have a checklist, and as I'll show, I bring some extra stuff because things do happen.
And then the other question I have, when you said you were working the thing and then you said, let me check out 17 meters, how did those people know you were there?
Because I spotted myself through APRS.
Okay.
So
you
what?
did it with your hand though.
Yeah, with my hand. I sent a message, spotted myself, and I'm calling CQ. I don't hear anybody, and then when all of a sudden,
So there's some code you put, there's some message you're sending on APRS that takes off at one of those computer things and grabs you or something.
Right, yeah, I mean,
it's not some guy looking and keying you up somewhere.
no, I have programmed already in the memory, here's the summit I'm on, here's the frequency I'm on, and then I just send to SOTA, hit send, and it goes.
Okay.
So, all right, actually put that out of the way. So what I'm gonna do is just kind of show you some of the stuff that I take with me, and I'll just, no particular order. On some of the peaks, if there's no trees, you either gotta use a vertical, or I might bring a mast, and this is kind of a smaller mast. This is really just a fishing pole, it's just you just it's pretty lightweight. Kind of a one of these things here, and just go like this, and you just wedge it into some trees or something like that. Whoop. And you tie your antenna on
So
the
that's
top.
how your sloper comes down off of that then?
What's
Your
that?
slope off of that?
Yep.
Wow.
Now, you have to, this is pretty lightweight, so you got to kind of use a little small antenna, which I'll show you. In fact, when I was up at Mount Jupiter, when I did the double with Grass Valley, this is what I used because there's no trees up there. Again, this is, it's about 13, 14 feet. They have a bigger one that a lot of people use. It's called a jack height. It's like 32 feet. A little wieldy, but I have schlepped that one up to a couple places. They, MFJ, our places that have these collapsible masts. So again, only if I know there's going to be no trees, then I will take up something like this. Okay. Of course, I always carry hiking poles. It's my knees aren't the greatest, but it's nice to have these, and then I can use these if I want to put up different things. All right. Here's some of the radios. This here is the KX3. Okay, this actually is Carla's radio. I got her for her birthday 2 years ago. I got the little protector on that I put on here. Got the microphone and stuff, and so this is a really good radio. I mean, I've really had a lot of fun with it. But I ended up buying the KX2 because I saw a guy that had one, and it's just a little bit smaller. And this was Carla's. What was this? Our wedding anniversary. Yeah, this was your anniversary gift. This is the KX2, and again, I added these little extra things here, and you can see how. I mean, this is the radio here, and the battery's inside. So this is the KX2. Oliver hasn't gotten you one yet. So I mean, the battery's inside, and so this is a nice. Steve has one, right? Got the two, right? So very popular radio, and pretty durable, and used a lot in the outdoors. So I got the mic. So these are the radios. Talk about batteries. I don't use this anymore, but you all familiar with the gel cell like this? Not that expensive, maybe $20. Weighs like 3.4 pounds. But everyone's going to the lithium iron phosphate, so this is about 4.5 amp hours. Here's a similar one. This weighs 1.2 pounds. Same amp hours here, so it's a heck of a lot easier using this. And I put Anderson power poles on all my stuff. So this is, if you want to, again, you can come up here later and see some of the stuff. This is something I haven't tried this yet, but this is just a kind of a lightweight headset. I got this at Pacificon, thank you. And so I hope to be using this pretty soon. Okay. I always take a chair with me. The days of me sitting there on a log or something, so it's nice to have a little chair. Here's some of my antennas here, okay? This is, again, I like the end-fed dipoles, and this is sold by a company. It's about 66 feet long. It covers 30 meters, 40 meters, 20 meters, and 60 meters. Now, you could build these dipoles, but on an end-fed dipole, because of a high impedance, you got to have a balun on the end. I mean, if you work HF, it's real simple to build a what they call a half-wave dipole, but normally you need to have that end up high, that end up high, and maybe something in the middle to support it. Again, I like the end feds because you only got to have one end up and have it kind of slope down. So this is by a company made L&R. I always carry backup antennas with me. This is a smaller one. Again, it's an end-fed dipole, commercially made. If you want to wind your own coil, you can do it, but you got to have, because the impedance is so high on an end-fed, you got to have some kind of balance in there. So this is a little thinner wire. This is only 41 feet. Now this little thin wire will work good on that mast. I mean, it'll bend it over, but I've worked. In fact, when I worked those two Japanese stations on 17 meters, this is the antenna I was using, although I had it up in a tree. Okay, this is the kind of coax I use. It's this thin stuff, RG174. Initially, I was carrying like about 10 or 12 feet of RG8X, or I'm thinking, I'm only running 5 or 10 watts. I want to get all the power I can. This stuff, it doesn't matter because on HF, frequencies 20, 30, 40. 10 feet of this little thin coax is not going to make any difference whether you've got some big fat coax. So this is a lot easier to carry, a lot lighter. I carry 2 lengths because you never know when something goes, you hike up to a peak and something's not working. In fact, one time I had one for some reason wasn't working. I had the spare. Okay, now how do you get up the antenna into a tree? Here's my launching system. Okay, I got about 75 feet of parachute cord. Anybody recognize what this? If you're a fine connoisseur, this is a Crown Royal bag. Okay. So I fill this with rocks, tie a little bowline knot on here. I make this like a bucket. Okay, and then I just pitch it up, goes up and over a tree. Actually, I have this patented. It's called the STI Flyer. I normally sell them for $59.95, but today only $49.95 cash only. Oliver's already bought 2.
Without the line.
So that again, that's the launching thing. I'm always, like I said, if I have to, I'll spend the night. This is just like it's kind of like a sleeping bag, a little more advanced than like a plastic tube tent or those plastic or those metal foil things. This thing here, again, I've never had to use these. This is just like a little cocoon. So if I had to spend the night, I got like a sleeping bag, I got a little insulator. I carry another little pad on the ground. Of course, the SOTA flag. I've used a lot of verticals. This one was kind of recommended. It's a little heavy, but if you're going to a peak that has nothing on the top and you can't take a mast and you're kind of stuck, not say stuck with a vertical, but this one, the reason I got it, it breaks down into small enough where you can put on your luggage. This is what I took to Ireland, and when you start folding these together, this could be 8 or 9 feet high, so you almost got a full-size vertical with the radial. So again, out of all the verticals I've used, I really like this HFP. And of course, different other little things here. Of course, I always have a GPS with me. You're a Boy Scout, right? You know why I have a whistle?
So that if you hear people, you can whistle.
What's that?
If you hear people walking by and you're stuck up there.
Exactly. How long can you yell, right? So you got to whistle, okay? And they also say if you're in bear country, maybe want to let them. They know you're there, so you kind of blow the whistle. I keep the whistle handy. If you're right, if you trip and roll down a hill and you're stuck, how long can you yell, help, help, help? You got to whistle. Of course, obviously, you always bring a compass. I always bring a light, no matter if I'm in the daylight or not, headlamp. You never know when something might happen. I got a little first aid kit in here, just some, of course, obviously you got water. You take some kind of extra food with you. This is my Morse code key. I've used several different kinds, but the one reason I like this is you can set it up and actually have it set up on your knee. You just put the little thing on here. And say you're sitting in your chair, strap this puppy on here like this, and you're sitting down and you're operating. You don't have to hold the key or anything like that. So this is called White Rook Company.
That's very light art.
What's that?
That's very light art.
Yeah, that's right. Fast on the key. Essentially, that's kind of, you know, you always take some duct tape with you. You know, take extra batteries, take extra HT battery. Actually, here's another little small antenna. I don't carry all this stuff all the time.
Yeah, you wouldn't bring both KX2 and KX3 usually.
No, I just bring one. But I do bring both these radios, because this one I'll have set up for APRS, and I'll have it on the side of my pocket, so it's sending out a beacon maybe every 3 minutes while I'm walking, and then this one I'll have in my side pocket, maybe I'm calling out on Simplex or something. So, yeah, you don't have to bring any HDs. And I also want to mention is, you know, because I'm geared when I'm on a mountaintop for VHF, or for HF, I'm only listening with this thing. But if you're going to go to a mountaintop and you're doing strictly 2 meters, if you bring like one of those J poles, something longer, it really makes a big difference. Some guys I know doing 2 meters only, they just bring a little beam.
Yeah.
So, again, that's kind of it. So anybody wants to come up and look at the stuff, I think I've pretty much, you know, I've got got everything. Of course, oh yeah. Oh, by the way, you always want a rain gear, and I found this one. This is like a poncho. It's called Frog Togs, and I happened to buy it. And then when I was when I was out at Dayton, I kind of mentioned this one, and they say this is the poncho of choice for people on the Appalachian Trail, the AT. In fact, I did for the very first, you know, Appalachian Trail is kind of like the John Muir Trail here, the Pacific Crest Trail is a big deal. And so I got to hike on it for the very first time. I had a hike, I think I was in Virginia. And, you know, again, I like to collect states. So I had the trip planned out, I think it was Black Rock or something like that. So I got to hike up for the very first time, 1 mile up to the summit on the Appalachian Trail and set up and operated. That was my first. And my second thing on the Appalachian Trail is I got to hike down 1 mile in the pouring rain. I mean, it was pouring like crazy. But I had this poncho. I mean, and I'm up there. Normally, you know, you use a little common sense. I mean, if it was clear when I went up there, but the storm moved in. And I hunkered down under this poncho. I was able to make my 4 or 5 contacts, and I walked all the way down. I mean, but it kept me reasonably dry, so. I always take a jacket. Anything else you need to take when you're up in the outdoors that I hadn't talked about?
I don't think so.
Take repellent?
Well, yeah, matches. I mean, are you going to start a fire up in the San Gabriels? Probably not. I mean,
We need to be rescued.
what's that? Yeah, sunscreen, of course. Yeah, you're up high. You want that. When you're in the Midwest, you get a lot of bugs. Sure, bug
Like
repellent.
Someone asked about an antenna tuner. Do you use one?
Yes, I do. I mean, there's some built in here. Okay, I showed you that on the FT817. I had that little one, but you don't need one. Normally with an end fed, well, on the one end fed here, you don't need one because it's kind of cut 20, 30, and 40. But on this other one, the shorter one, yeah, you would need a tuner. Again, if you build a dipole, maybe a half-wave dipole, you know, you could probably get by without one.
Any questions for Scott? We're getting late here.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much. This is a very professional and quality show. I mean, I'm really interested in this. It's taught me a lot.
Yeah, you know, I forgot my little can with tips that says tips on it.
No, that ain't happening.
Well, thank you very much.
Anybody wants to look at the stuff, I got a couple little different handouts, talks about it, so you guys got a business meeting.
Scott was really nice and personable, so you know, just answer your questions. And again, he knows more about.